that it matters, not that I care. Peace will linger in the distance, as justice sees its final dawn. Not that surprising. Look where we're going. Love will make it through the night, knowing everything is right as angels come to my rescue. Oh boy, love will make it. Love, 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 love. Deceptive times are now upon us. The music's died but left us this song. Black magic and mystery. Ambitions are history. But love will make it through the night, knowing everything is alright. Come to my rescue. Come to my rescue.
So shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, fathers and mothers, friends, foes, and enemies. We thank Elohim for yet another day that he has granted unto us, a day where, by the mercies of Elohim, many of us are well functioning and we are alive and living. The Bible says that this is the day that Elohim has made, so we should rejoice and be glad in the fact that Elohim has, from his abundantness of favor, allowed us to be able to remain alive even until the year of 2024, where many crazy things are taking place and where many more crazy things will take place. For the Bible already warns us concerning the evil and the goings-ons of them that rule the world at this junction of time. For Elohim has spoken and said that even though thou builds thy nest amongst the stars, even from there I will bring you down, which is an indication that the end is not near. The end is not yet. For Edom must first establish a colony in space. So up until that time, we are patiently waiting. We are minding our own business. We are blowing the trumpet. And hopefully, slowly but surely, Elohim will gather his fold. So because of time and the fact that we don't have any, let us start with what we want to deal with today. So I need the people to be sharp, sharp, sharp. So we will deal with the 4 Gentile kingdoms. We already started with it last week. I would like to make a short correction with regards to last week. We were supposed to speak about ancient Babylon because we're speaking about the 4 Gentile kingdoms, the 4 ancient Gentile kingdoms. However, last week was more about mystery Babylon, which is not the same. So unless you are confused, you'll be like, whoa, what happened? Nothing happened. It was just a miscommunication. Last week was more about mystery Babylon and not ancient Babylon with the guys like Nebu and all of them. So hopefully one day we will revisit that one and deal more with ancient Babylon. So as we are continuing, let's go to the, I forgot I'm the one in control. So the very introduction, please.
Mm-hmm. For this lesson, we will look at the rise, exploits, and fall of the ancient Medo-Persian Empire. The intent is to identify their works in history and biblical times and try to learn what happened to them and what eventually caused their downfall. We will have a surprise twist at the end as we try to bring it to our modern time. These series are an attempt to motivate our people to invest time in history and see the parallels in our modern day.
So Ecclesiastes 1:9, it says,
What has been will be again, and what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun.
exactly. So if you take your time and you begin to read and study the Bible, the very first thing you will notice is the fact that many stories are allegories and many stories are repetitions. Elohim will speak to you in one way or another, as the Bible says in the book of Hebrews, that Elohim in sundry times has often spoken through the prophets, so that we as a people may gain understanding. So sometimes people wonder, why do you guys revisit history? Why do you guys want to go back to history? It is because it is in uncovering the history that you will know the mystery to our present time and to the future. Because there are lessons to be learned from almost any story and every story in the Bible, if you have the right approach. So today we will focus on the Medo-Persian kingdom. We will look at what happened to them. We will glean into their adventures, and then we will bring it home and see what type of lessons we can draw from it. So the table of content, we will look at
The rise of Medo-Persia. We'll look at the Medo-Persian government system, the line of Medo-Persian kings, Medo-Persian religion, the fall of Medo-Persia. We'll look at the Caucasus Mountains, the Aryan race, and what can we learn from the past, and then conclude.
exactly. So these are the things that we will deal with. Sometimes I'll be flying, sometimes I'll be taking my time. So let's move. Rise of Medo-Persia.
Persia. Daniel 5:18. O thou king, the Most High Elohim gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. But when his heart was lifted up and his mind hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thine heart, though thou knewest all this, but hast lifted up thyself against the Master of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy masters, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them. And thou hast praised the Elohim of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know. And the Elohim in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified. Then was the part of the hand sent from heaven, and this writing was written.
So this was the rise of the Medo-Persian kingdom. As you will see, there is always a succession of kingdoms. There is always a succession of kings. And this is basically the end of the line of Nebu and his son, right? So where Elohim for a season allowed them to rise and come into eminent power, it was the same Elohim who, in his own infinite wisdom, what he basically has done is, because of his justice system, Elohim has actually made it so that any group and son of Noah after the flood will have a time to rule. And it is his intention that he will compare their rulership with the fifth kingdom, which is the millennial reign of the Messiah, so that Elohim can look at them and say, you see, my kingdom, or the kingdom of my son, it is greater than all of you guys. So you will see he started with, what's the guy's name? Nimrod, Nebuchadnezzar and stuff. I'm speaking about after the flood, not before. Everything before should not be counted. So he started with Nimrod, which was an African. From Nimrod came Cush. He started with Cush, Nimrod, the Egyptians. And then the peak of these African kings was that of Nebu or Nebuchadnezzar. After that, he finished. Now comes the Medo-Persians, which are basically the Japhetians. So in the succession of the wisdom of Elohim, he will allow Hamites to rule, he will allow Japhethians to rule, and then he will go to the Grecians and Romans and so forth, so that any son, all the sons of Noah will have a time to rule. So now we are speaking about the destruction of what's the guy's name? Belteshazzar, or the destruction of Babylon, and we are going to how the Medo-Persians came to rule. So the next slide, Daniel 5:25.
And this is the writing that was written, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, Elohim has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and are found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. And that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. And Darius, the Median, took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
So this is how it basically happened. Elohim usurped the kingdom of, what's the guy? Of Belshazzar or the Babylonians. And he immediately allowed the Persians or the Medes to come in and take over. It is exactly as what we are seeing nowadays in our time. You don't just get to power or to control if it is not Elohim that is doing it. The nation of America, the nation of England, and all of them, all the things that happened, you as a nation and as a people, you have to pay attention to the things that go on, but you should never panic in life. No matter who's in control, no matter who's ruling, you should never panic in life. You have to know that there is nothing that escapes the control of the Almighty. It is he who meddles in the affairs of men. It is he who puts up kings, and it is he who dethrones kings. And when it was time for Babylon to go, behold how with the hand of an angel, he wrote down for all to see that, behold, Mene, Mene, meaning you have been weighted, and your sins are greater than your works of righteousness. Therefore, your time is moved, and now it is time for another nation to try and control the world. And these are the prophecies of Daniel, and you will see how it coincides with reality. So we are going to the next slide. This is how Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. What is 62? What is 60?
60, I believe.
62 when he took power. And you, black man, are 30 or 35, and you're already stressing. You think your life will amount to nothing. You have still time. So never rush. So let's go to the rise of the Medo. Daniel 8:1. It says, in the 3rd year
of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was greater than the other, and the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
And the great thing about this is how, especially these so-called people that like to claim that they are atheists, do you know that when it comes to certain stories, when they don't have the missing links, many of them will revert to the Bible. Even unbelievers, when it comes to dealing with certain portions of history, when they have a gap and they can't fill it, sometimes what you will see them do is they will go to the Bible to seek for an indication. And based on what the Bible says, that is the area where they will start to look to connect the dots. Because everything that we are saying here, the rise of Shalmaneser, of Assyria, the Babylonians, the rise of King Darius, All of these things is recorded history. All of these things is recorded history. And many of them will even point out the fact that the prophecies of Daniel, the things that he said, it was impossible for him to have known it by human interference because he prophesied of the future. And many of the prophecies of Daniel were confirmed years and sometimes centuries later. And these are things that even, it boggles the minds of atheists. That how was this man able to foresee and foretell the future? So here they are telling you how this ram with two horns, representing the Medo and Persians, was the one who was to overtake the world for a season. So continue the next slide, Daniel 7:2. Daniel spoke and said,
I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea, and four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man. And a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise and devour much flesh. It is estimated that King Darius III of Persia was in command of a total of 2.5 million soldiers spread across his vast empire. At the heart of the Persian Empire were the Immortals, an elite regiment of 10,000 infantrymen whose numbers never changed. When a man was killed, another rose to take his place.
So basically, it doesn't mean that the Immortals were immortal. I don't know if you guys still remember that 300 movie where King Leonidas was like, Immortals, let's forget. So what that basically means is that there were so many soldiers that at the moment that you kill one, another takes his place because there were an infinite number of soldiers. Can you imagine in his time and day, he had 2.5 million, not people, not civilians, 2.5 soldiers. 2.5 trained soldiers. So in this time, this was considered as the greatest army that has ever existed at that time. That is why his kingdom, the kingdom of the Medo-Persians, at this time, this was the world power. 2.5 soldiers, the Immortals. And then on the right, you have the depiction
of the Susian gods from the palace of Darius I in Shusha. Their garments match the description of the Immortals by ancient authors.
So these are real life things. And these are real life discoveries being made. And these are the Susian guard. And do you see their hair and their color? How does it look?
Brown color, black color.
These are tanned, black, brownish people. At this time around Babylon, Medo-Persia, up until the Grecians, there were no such thing as a nation of white people. It was not yet there. All of them were colored. The descendants of Ham were colored people. The descendants of Japheth were colored people. The descendants of Shem were colored people. At this time, there was no nation known as Europeans or white people. It was not yet there. So when they are showing you pictures of, oh yeah, this is Darius and it looks European, it's whitewashed. Just like they have done with all of history. Europe has been lying from the very beginning of times. And they will keep on lying. But then when you go to these temples, when you see these artifacts, the people are brown. And when they tell you no, they had no white color, but you can see in their garments that they have the white color. So what do you mean they have no white color? And that's the issue. When you lie too much, you become drunk with your lies. So we are continuing. Daniel 6:1. Talking about the Medo-Persian government system.
Daniel 6:1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was the first, that the princes might give account unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. In Esther 8, verse 9.
Now listen, now this kingdom was so big that he had 120 princes governing the whole of his kingdom. 120 princes, which shall be over the whole kingdom. And then over these 120 princes, he had 3 presidents. 1 president for Medo-Persia, 1 president for, I think, Lydia, and 1 president for Babylon. These were the 3 ribs that he had in his mouth when Daniel was speaking about that great bear. And Daniel was set above all of the presidents. So he was literally, just like in the story of Joseph, it was king. It was the Egyptian king, then it was Joseph. In this story around, it is Darius, Daniel, then the other presidents, and then the other 120. So this Daniel was extremely powerful. But before, he had to be thrown in the lion's den. But he was extremely powerful. And yet the guy was a eunuch, meaning no wife, no child. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine that type of life? But he was the most powerful guy after Darius. No wife, no kids. So what was the guy doing? What was the guy doing? What was the guy? He was checking mysteries. So let's go. So Esther 8 and 9. Then were the king's scribes
called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month of Sivan, on the 23rd day thereof. And it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Hebrews, and to the lieutenants, and to the deputies and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia.
Now listen at how big the Medo-Persian kingdom was. It stretched from India all the way unto Ethiopia.
And 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Hebrews according to their writing and according to their language.
So we are still moving, because I told you about the 3 major kingdoms. So you have the Median Empire, then you have on the low, you have Babylonia, and then you have on the left, you have the kingdom of Lydia. These 3 kingdoms is what he took over, and these 3 kingdoms is what then became known as the Persian Empire. So when we are speaking about the Medo-Persian Empire, this is the extent of their reach. There you see Israel, there you see Egypt, and there you see Damascus, Sidon, Gordian, Armenia, Parthia, Persia, is going towards the Asian steppe, to the cross borders of Elam, India. This was the extent of his rule and his kingdom.
Should it also not be including the eastern part of Africa, because India is far lower than only what's on this image, right? India and majority of Ethiopia is to the south of this image, and India as well.
Yeah.
Right. It should even include a bigger portion than only what's on this image.
Yeah, that's true. Right. This is what they gave us. Eh?
Yeah, of course.
But from the description, indeed, it is bigger. It goes all the way to North Africa and stuff, and Ethiopia to the borders of the Nile. So, but let's see. So, I just made a claim before, and I said that all the area was filled with black people. Because when you hear Medo-Persia, the word Medo is Greek. In Persian, it is Madai. And you will still find the same Madai when you go to your Bible. When you go to your Bible, you look at Madai, they will tell you it's the area where the Asian steppe is. It's what they today call some of the areas of what they today call the Middle East, going towards the border of Russia, Elam, and India. So I wrote down Medo Persia is Madai. Madai is linked to Elam. Elam is India. And this is in the Asian steppe, right? So let's just look at the very names of that region. So I wrote down on the left, the Hebrew name for India
is Hodu. Hodu is Hodu is synonymous with Hindustan. Hindu or Hindu means black. Stan or tan means a country or land.
So Afghanistan, meaning land of the Afghans. Pakistan, land of the Pakus. Hindustan, land of the Hindus. Right? Thus, Hindustan
or India means black country or land of the blacks. India or India Superior was once formally applied to the Americas and West Indies.
So we go to the Strongs and you see Hindustan or
British India name means black country or land of the blacks, from the Persian Hindu.
You see, so before you say, no, this is a modern term, we are speaking about Medo Persia. So Medo is not Persian. In the Persian language, which is the language they still speak today, Hindu literally means black and stan a country. So Hindustan or Hindustan, Persian.
Hindu meaning blacks and stan meaning land, means land of the blacks or Negro land.
Continue.
And then Hindustan or Hind is Persic. Sind or Sanskrit means black, and etc.
So even in their Sanskrit, which they say is one of the oldest still living and active languages, because the Persian and Sanskrit is very closely related. So even in Sanskrit, it still means black.
And then it also says, hence, Hindu or Hindu means blackie or Negro, and Tan means territory in all the Aryan family of languages.
We will get to that Aryan part later on,
and therefore,
where they get the Aryan from.
And therefore, Hindustan means Negro's territory.
Tan appears in Kurdistan,
Afghanistan, Mauritania,
Farsistan,
and meaning countries of the Kurds, Afghans, or Mars or Moors. Fars and etc.
Enough. So then, as I told you before, when you want to know who these ancient people were, when you are dealing with the Medo Persians, who was Darius, who was his son, who was Cyrus, these were dark people. And you still have them today. When you go to Hindustan, you will find them, the Siddhis, you'll find these Dravidians. When you go to India, you'll find them, the Siddhis, you'll find these Dravidians. When you go to Iran, you will find them. You go to the Houthis, Yemen, you will find them.
Oman,
you will find them. And these are not Arabs. These are not Arabs. These are not Arabs. Because the Arab conquest comes much later. These people are the people of Japhet. The true and the real Japhetic people. Today, in contemporary history, some will classify them as Afro-Asiatics. That's how you will classify them, as the Afro-Asiatics. As the Afro-Asiatics, the true people of that area. The true people of that area. So you should really think and reason and ask yourself, then who are the people there now? That is the issue. Who are the people there now? Who is Ahmadinejad? Who is the guy Who is Ayatollah Khamenei? Who is that? Who is he? Who is he? So I showed you who they were, and I will show you who they are today, and then we will link it to some of their judgments. But we are still continuing. So the line, there are no questions, right? So let's look at the line of kings of Medo Persia. And here you see another book by James V. Jordan, and you look at the statutes, and once again, the people are dark-skinned, nappy hair. Look at the beards. So first Ezra 7:4, and they finished these things
by the commandment of Yah Elohim of Israel, and with the consent of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, kings of Persia.
Now this Artaxerxes is the one who in your Bible you call him Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus, I think it was the husband of Esther. Is Artaxerxes. So even if according to you, he was white, we have established without any shadow of doubt about the color of the Hebrews. So there, now you see Artaxerxes mingled with Esther. So you should reason and take time. And thus was the holy house finished
in the 23rd day of the month Adar, in the 6th year of Darius, king of the Persians. And the elders of the Hebrews in Ezra Ezra 6:14, and the elders of the Hebrews builded, and they prospered through the prophesying of Haggai the prophet and Zechariah the son of Edo. And they builded and finished it according to the commandment of Elohim of Israel, and according to the commandment of Cyrus and Darius and Artaxerxes, king of Persia.
The reason why we are bringing up these names is because when you look for them in the Bible, you will find them. And then when you go to contemporary history, you will also find them. The rulership of the Medo-Persians is what we call the Achaemenid dynasty. And this is the line of the Achaemenid dynasty, because Medo-Persia is a conglomerate of two kingdoms becoming one. That's why in the vision you saw the two horns, first the one on the left and then the one on the right. And on the one on the right was greater than the one on the left, meaning the first one, which was Media or Madai, was then overtaken by Persia or Paras. And we all know what Persia is in our contemporary time. What is Persia today?
The Iranians.
It's Iran. So if you take an ancient map where Iran is today, you will see the name is Persia. That's why the Iranians, they call themselves Persians. Iranians don't call themselves Arabs. As a matter of fact, they and the Arabs, they are not friends. They are not friends. What people confuse is, oh, they are Muslims. What do you mean? What do you mean? Do you know how many black Muslims are in this world? But are they Arabs? The religion of, I'll deal with that when I deal with the religion. That's what I will deal with that. But Persians are Persians. Persians are the people of Japhet. They are not Arabs. So you begin to look at the line of kings. You see the three names we just identified. You see Cyrus, you see Darius, and you see Artaxerxes or Ahasuerus. Cyrus, Darius, Artaxerxes, also known as Ahasuerus. These were the three most important kings in Medo-Persia. And the Bible speaks of these three. The Bible speaks of these three. And how all the three of them, to be honest with you, they were mighty kings. To the point where the epithet of Cyrus was Cyrus, the King of Kings. That was his epithet. Cyrus, the King of Kings. And the reason why he was called the King of Kings is because he had many kings under him. So let's read some of the inscriptions coming from the Cyrus cylinder. He says, I am Cyrus,
King of the universe, the great king, the powerful king, king of Babylon, king of Sumer and Akkad.
That's why he says, I'm the King of Kings. I have many nations
king of the four quarters of the world, son of Cambyses, the great king of the city of Anshan, grandson of Cyrus, the great king of the city of Anshan, descendant of Thyspes, the great king of the city Anshan. Text from the Cyrus cylinder.
And they have it in their British Museum and all of the mysteries which they have kept there. So let's look at their government system so that you will understand what we have learned from them going forward. So it says, the Persian king Cyrus II the Great
ruled from 559 to 530 BC, renowned by the ancient Greeks and Iranians alike as an illustrious conqueror and skillful ruler. He created the largest and most powerful empire of antiquity. In swift succession, he captured Media, the dominant kingdom of Iran, then Lydia, which controlled Asia Minor or present-day Turkey, and finally Babylon, from which he inherited authority over most of the Near East. Cyrus's son Cambyses II added Egypt to Persian territory. And under Darius I, or the Great, the Achaemenid Empire, named for his ancestors Achaemenus, reached the height of its power, claiming allegiance from more than 20 nations, stretching from northern Greece to the borders of India. These lands were administered as semi-autonomous provinces whose individual religions and traditions were respected as long as tribute was paid to the king. Darius drew on this mixture of diverse cultures to fashion the distinctive court style seen in the art and architecture of his grand capitals at Susa or Persepolis.
So the link is there. And then I wrote in gold, governing system of the Medo-Persians
was a policy where they take on vassal states or satraps or satrapy, allowing them to live their lives but pay tributary to the Medo-Persians. Thus, they were considered as the world's first superpower.
So he was the first to introduce this way of governing. If you look at the Medo-Persian reign, it was not really a bloody one compared to the Babylonians. Babylon would come into your city and sack it. Just like they sacked Israel. Everywhere they went, they would come and with brute force, they would sack it. So Elohim called them the hammer. But as for the Medo-Persian Empire, it was different. This guy Cyrus, he was very smart to the point where he ruled by satraps. So satraps basically means he would colonize nations, but allow them the freedom of expression. You are allowed to worship who you want. You are allowed to do whatever you want, as long as you stay in subjection to Medo-Persia, and as long as you pay tributary, and as long as you enlist for the army, you are fine. That is how he was ruling. So you can consider it today as that is how so-called America tries to rule, but they just kill you. And this same way of governance is what he taught the world. So if you look at the governance of colonization, of satraps, etc., of colonies, the world learned that from Cyrus. This was his gift to the world. Colonization. You work for him. That is what he did. And then Alexander came and copied it. The Romans came and tried it. And that is the same government system that the world is trying to do today. But it's here where it comes from. Thus, he was what you can consider as the world's very first superpower. Just think about the Soviet Union in the heydays of its time. Just think about the European Union. All of these ideas, this is where they learned it from. Right? So we are continuing. The religion of Medo-Persia. And mind you, all of this is 3,000 years ago, approximately 3,000 to 3,500 years ago, as he was doing this. So I don't know where these Edomites come up with ideas that the world exists for millions of years. I don't know how they do that. The scientist, he just finished eating spaghetti. He will go outside and he will take a rock. And it will be like looking at the symmetry, the asymmetry of the stone. We estimate that it's about 2.5 billion years old. And the guy says it live on TV. And we are just supposed to believe it. Why? Because it's a European. That is how far this world has come, where the European can say the craziest thing. And somehow, because they have learned to control the world and our minds, we just stay quiet. These crazy guys, they go to naturally the most purest area of the world, which is the Congo Basin, where the nature is at its purest. And they tell us there were two monkeys sleeping with each other there, and then AIDS came to be. Just so sometimes when I think about that, I'm like, Emma, no. This you can't lie so much. So two monkeys in the Congo Basin, they were meddling with each other, and then AIDS was spread. AIDS was spread. But what these people do in their rooms, they buy dildos and stuff, men and men. So when they do that, AIDS doesn't spread. But monkeys. So that is the world we are living for you. Yeah, the world is 6 billion years old. How do we know that? So the religion of Medo Persia. So around 518 BC,
Darius I began to build a new capital, Persepolis, also known as Takht el-Jamshid, in southwestern Iran, which would serve as the ceremonial and courtly center of the Achaemenid Empire. Darius and his successors constructed magnificent palaces, treasuries, and a large audience hall on an enormous terraced platform intended to convey a sense of grandeur and awe. This carefully planned composition glorified the king as a ruler of a vast multi-ethnic empire under the protection of his patron deity, Ahura Mazda.
That is their national god or entity, Ahura Mazda. So according to legend,
3 ancient Zoroastrian fire temples, known as the Great Fires, were said to have come directly from the Zoroastrian god Ahura Mazda at the beginning of time. The Ahura Mazda was the great god of the ancient Medo-Persians. He was known by many epithets like the god of the skies, the god of fire, the god of light, etc. Darius, the king of kings, was a devout Zoroastrian. This Zoroaster, or Zarathustra, was the great prophet of the Medo-Persian god Ahura Mazda. Some say Zoroastrianism is the oldest monotheistic religion in the world that speaks about the concept of heaven, hell, life, death, and resurrection.
Hey, if that is true or not, I don't know. What is for sure is the fact that in these areas, the people of Medo-Persia, including Darius, they were not Arabs. They are not Arabic people. They were Japhetians, and they had their religion. And they had their sky god, which was the god of the skies, the god or the Lord of fire, the god who looks left and right, which is Baal. That is the one who they worshipped. So you see the lion looking left down or left right. You see the 2 wings, and then you see the solar disk. That is always what they want. He was the god of fire, the one who brought them knowledge. That is the one who they worshipped. And then their great prophet, who was Zoroaster. So the religion of the Persians is Zoroastrianism. That is before the Arab invasion took place. That's what they believed in. That's what they believed in. They are one of the very first people who brought about the concept of alchemy, meaning as above, so below, a concept of equal system. The concept of there cannot be a God without a devil. The concept of no one is purely good and no one is purely evil. There has to be a balance. And from the outside looking in, it seems a very good teaching. But the teaching of duality is always a dangerous one. It is always a very dangerous one. But they are one of the first who introduced it. And there's a religion that they had and that some of them still have today in Iran. Because I remember one of my colleagues at work, he's a Dutch man, but he's married to a Iranian woman. And we were having lunch, we were talking, and he told me, yeah, my wife, they are celebrating their new year. It was a month or two ago. And I said, oh, she's not Muslim. He said, no. I said, oh, so she's Zoroastrianism. And he looked at me like, what? He said, how do you know that? I said, because I'm fascinated by religion. I study all of the religions. He said, yes, she's a Zoroastrianism and they believe it and they have their own way of life, blah, blah. And he said, and then he told me about the misconceptions people have when it comes to the Iranian people. People lump them in together with Arabs, but they are not Arabs. If you tell them they're Arabs, they will get insulted. In the whole nation of Iran, even today, the population of Arabs is maybe, can you imagine, 2%. The rest of them are not Arabs. They are Turkmen, they are people of Kurdistan, they are people of Persia, but 2% of them are Arabs. That's it. That's it. And many have their religion. So we are continuing. The religion of Medo Persia. So this prophet of them, Zoroaster, also known
as Zarathustra, was the founder of Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest religions. He lived in ancient Persia or modern-day Iran, sometime between the 18th and 6th century BCE. Zoroastrianism is centered around the teachings of Zoroaster, which emphasize the dualistic struggle between good and evil forces, represented by Ahura Mazda, or the supreme deity, and Angra Mainyu, the destructive spirit. Mithras, on the other hand, is a figure from ancient Roman religion. The worship of Mithras, known as Mithraism, was a mystery religion that gained popularity in the Roman Empire during the 1st to the 4th centuries. Mithraism involved secretive rituals and initiation ceremonies, and it was particularly popular among Roman soldiers and elites. While there are some similarities between elements of Zoroastrianism and Mithraism, such as their emphasis on light and their dualistic worldview, scholars debate the extent of direct influence between the two religions. Some theories suggest that elements of Mithraism may have been influenced by Zoroastrianism due to cultural interactions between Persia and the Roman Empire.
That's it. And the only reason I'm telling you this is because just to show you, and we will keep on doing it any chance we get, how the European is a liar. So when you look at the left, you see the coin and the bust of the one who they call Mithra. If you look at the face from the side, what phenotype does he have? Is that a European phenotype?
Big lips, at least. Yeah, that's what I see.
Then it's a Negro phenotype. And then below you have him again, and there you see him wrestling with a bull. And every time you see a bull, you must link to Baal. That's why I told you, this ancient religion of theirs was a religion that also the ancient Canaanites also had. The religion of the God of the sky, the religion of the Canaan God, they all had this same religion of Baal worship. It's always around the bull, it's always around the sun, it's always around fire. That is the religion that they had. And then these so-called Romans, can you imagine, thousands of years later, they come and they coin it Mithraism, but this is where they got it from. And the reason why, because if you're wondering, what has this to do with? It has to do with everything. Because if you then jump into time, into present day time, this is the connecting dots. So I wrote down on particularly popular religion
centered on the worship of the solar deity Mithras, derived from the Iranian god Mithra, whose ceremonies were celebrated by groups of men in elaborate initiation rituals. In these pictorial representations, the god is typically shown in Persian dress, heroically sacrificing a heavenly bull. The central idea of a creative sacrifice that sustains the cosmos was an Iranian element without parallel in the Greco-Roman world. The Iranian priest known as Magi had long been viewed by the Greeks and Romans as possessors of ancient knowledge and advisors to the Persian kings. In the biblical Gospel of Matthew, they travel from the east bearing gifts for the infant Yahushua, whom they proclaim King of the Hebrews.
So these Magi had many names. In Ethiopia, they were known as the Negus. Sometimes they were known as the Megus. Sometimes they were known as the Menus. Sometimes they were known as the Magi's. Some called them the Buddhas. So wheresoever you went, they had their names. That's why you will still see up until today. Did you know many Christian pastors, when they want power, do you know where they go?
The east.
Direct. When they seek power, many, especially the power they seek to shake people and make you fall, all of them a straight ticket to India. And then they go, and then the gurus will bless them. And then all of a sudden they begin to exude strange strengths. But now we are showing you how this religion, it is the same religion brought even up until today. So ancient Egypt, the African kingdom, when Ham was in control, 4,000 years before Christ, meaning 6,000 years from now, born on December 25th,
was Horus, born of a virgin, a star in the east. He also had a star in the east. He had 12 disciples. He walked on water. He was crucified and dead for 3 days, and then he resurrected.
And the whole thing with the whole 12 and stuff is, even the Iranians that today believe in the Quran or are now Muslims, they are not the Sunnis, they are Shia. And the only reason why they are Shia is because it is so closely linked to their Zoroastrian religion, because based upon their Shia belief, when the prophet dies, the succession of the prophet was passed down through 12 generations. So the only reason why they are believing it is because it is so closely linked to their ancient religion of old. Right? So you see about Horus, the descendants of the 12 disciples. He walked on water, he died and he resurrected. And then we move
To
further
Dionysus.
ahead and you go to Dionysus.
He was born on December 25th, as well as Horus. And he was also born of a virgin. And he turned water into wine, and he was resurrected.
Then we go to Attis.
He was born on December 25th. He was born of a virgin. He was crucified. He was dead for 3 days, and then he resurrected.
Then we go to Mithra.
He was born on December 25th, born of a virgin. He had a star in the east. He had 12 disciples. He was dead for 3 days, and then he resurrected.
Then we go to Krishna.
It was born of a virgin. It had a star in the east. It resurrected. It was the son of a carpenter and called the Son of God.
And then we go to who they call Jesus. The same thing.
He had all of the above.
The same thing. So you see how this religion, it percolates through all of the ages. It percolates through all of the ages. Because who they call Jesus is what the ancient times, basically the reason why you will see all of these coincidences when it comes to the ones they worship is because all of them knew the prophecy of Genesis 3:16. So all of them were awaiting for a Messiah to come. And at the spreading of the Tower of Babel, all of them took that prophecy with them and they began to seek for it based upon their own interpretation. So therefore, every nation then fixed and sought for their own Messiah. That's why you have so many antichrists. And then the epitome of it all, when the preacher man who is coming and deal with Rome, he will bring it home. But then you will see how all of these things coincide. And it did not skip a generation, neither did it skip the Medo-Persian kingdom. Is there a question?
No, I just thought, because I also had a question once about how can it be that the Egyptians' religion has so many parallels with scripture, but many people also do not realize that, for example, Enoch and all the things that he wrote and all the prophecies were way before Egypt, right? So exactly as
way before
Egypt. So exactly as you are saying,
way before.
They draw inspiration from the scriptures of Elohim.
Way before. It's just that the confusion that they make is just because Egypt was before Israel does not mean that the Egyptians are the originators of what we call the Hebrew faith today. Because there was a certain point in time where the Egyptians and the Hebrews were one. And there was a certain time where Egypt's father was, what's the guy's name? Noah. So every instruction passed down the generations was given to all the three people, because many of the mysteries which you also find in the Bible, you will also find it in the Vedas, which is the Indian Sanskrit Bible. You will also find the mysteries of the Messiah. So why is no one saying, yeah, you stole it from the Vedas? Is it because we can't read the Vedas? But in the Vedas, in the book of Zoroaster, in the Quran, every religious book, you will find certain portions of truth. You can sit down, take your time, read the Quran, and you can also receive a clean heart. You can read the Vedas, and you can also get some info. You can read the Egyptian book of the rising, which they call the book of the dead. You can read the 50 Ma'at, and you will be a balanced person. So it's life. Don't just, and Bible, go read the Bible and read the story of Solomon and see if care is not taken, you can become a crazy person. So why is no one speaking about that? You take the Bible, you read it, and then he says, go and kill Amalek. But when the Quran says it, what? So in every religious text, you will find the pen of the scribe. You will find many insertions which to our present day and time does not connect. So that's why you need that ruach that can supersede and sometimes calm you down. Calm you down. But because of time, let us move. So the very fall of Medo-Persia. First Maccabees 1:1.
And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. For more than 2 centuries, the Achaemenid Empire of Persia ruled the Mediterranean world. One of history's first true superpowers, the Persian Empire, stretched from the borders of India down through Egypt and up to the northern borders of Greece. But Persia's rule as a dominant empire would finally be brought to an end by a brilliant military and political strategist, Alexander the Great.
So I will not go too much into the Grecian exploits because that is given to the preacher man for next week. However, when it came to this part of the studies, and I was meditating concerning the Medo-Persian Empire, I looked at Darius, Cyrus, Ahasuerus, and I said, but what have they actually done? Because basically the Bible compliments them a lot. They were known as the friend of the exiles, the friend of the Hebrews, the people who basically Elohim used to break the hold of Babylon and to allow the Hebrews to return and build. Cyrus was a friend to the prophets. Look at how he raised up Daniel to the point where Daniel was more powerful than his own brothers. So I was sitting and I was meditating. I was like, am I Elohim? But we call them the 4 evil empires, but what has Medo-Persia actually done? And I was thinking and nothing was linking. I like, hey. And then I went to the Bible, the judgment on Medo-Persia. The Bible was quiet, except for that part where you see in Maccabee how Alexander came and took over. And I was like, hey, ma, when you read Babylon, too many warnings. When you read Rome, Greece, they sold them to the Grecians. So you see the evil that they have done. But Maccabees, it tells you about the exploits of the Greeks. And so all of the evil they have done is there. But when you go to Medo-Persia, it's a bit quiet. So I begin to reason for Ava. So what has happened to these people? And then all of a sudden, this came up. All of a sudden, this came up. And it was like, the issue is not that what they have done so much. The issue is the location where they find themselves. That has really, it has destroyed them. It has destroyed them. Because I showed you already that where ancient Persia was, where ancient Medo-Persian was, and the palace Susan, which was the capital, and it's exactly in the area where the Caucasus Mountain is. Because here you see the Asian steppe, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey, Greater Caucasus. Then you see Russia. That's the Caucasus Mountain range. And then on the right, you see the map: Syria, Damascus, Baghdad, Iraq, Tehran, which is Iran, Turkey. And when you go up there, is also where Russia is. So this is the area of the Caucasus Mountain. And this is the base of where the Medo-Persians were. So the issue and what destroyed them is this here. What destroyed them is, it has also to do with how were they people of color, and they change. That is where what destroyed them. So it was not basically them directly, but it were the people that they mingled with. It was the people that they mingled with. So the Caucasus Mountain, also the area where Medo-Persia's base was. Jeremiah 49:10. But I have made Esau
bare,
I have uncovered
his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not.
his seed is spoiled, meaning, as the Nigerians say, he done scatter. He done scatter, meaning his seed is scattered all over. His seed is scattered all over. Because do you know what the Grecians did when they came? Do you know why the Arabs now are the Arabs now? Why the people now of Middle East are the way they look? It's because Esau came and he scattered his seed. He scattered his seed. Meaning everywhere he went, he impregnated people. He impregnated people. He impregnated people. He impregnated people. So that the judgment of Edom then came on all of them. So Genesis 36:8, thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is
Edom,
Genesis 36:21, and Dishon,
and Ezer, and Dishan. These are the dukes of the Horites, the children of Seir in the land of Edom.
exactly. So you're like, hey, but Chris, what are you saying? What are you doing? What you were speaking about Medo-Persia? I know, but this is the twist, because now let's go to the next slide. Look at this. I showed you who the people were before, and they are still there. Some of the blacks, they are still there, suppressed. But this is the people now. You see the man on the right? The Kurdistan, Turkish, Ashkenazi phenotype. These are the people there now. And look at the left. The Neanderthal found in the Iranian or the Asian steppes, also known as the Caucasus Mountain. This is what has happened. This is what has happened. They just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, mingling with the wrong people. Mingling with the wrong people. That's why sometimes I sit at home and when I hear Afghanistan, Kurdistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and then you look at the people, you're like, Emma, something is, you can't figure them. You're like, are you European? Are you Turkish? What are you? You don't understand. And you're like, Emma, I don't get it. And then when they take off the shirt and then the excess hair. I had a colleague of that persuasion. Sometimes, you have to go to the, sauna or something, and then the guy, he was Kurdish, and oh my goodness. So you can't figure things out, but it's because, especially around that area, around the Caucasus, the Black Sea, the gene pool there is polluted. The gene pool there is polluted. The gene pool there is messed up. So you see this, man, you're like, what's the link? Well, the link is, first read this guide first.
God the Seer.
And this is just a tip of the iceberg, because I think that when we start dealing with Gog and Magog, that is where all of this will make sense. But because we're speaking of Medo-Persia, I said I will speak about Medo-Persia then and now. That's why I'm making this link. But when we deal with Gog and Magog, this will make perfect sense. But for now, just listen.
God the Seer 2, verse 23. Your corpses will fall among my people. O jealous Yah, come out of your place and smite Edom and consume them. Come to Zarephath, or the coast of Israel and Lebanon.
Now, this Zarephath falls under what you now know as this Medo-Persian area, where these Uzbekistan people are, which is Zarephath, coast of Israel and Lebanon. Come to Sepharad.
This Spain and Portugal.
Come to Ashkenaz.
Come to Germania, today part of Germany, France, Poland, Denmark, Czech Republic, Netherlands, and Austria. They shall come and fall in the lowest pit, in destruction and in the shadow of death, for your mouth will fail you and no one will help you.
So I wrote down the destruction of the Edomite/Horite line
will be in succession.
Firstly, the people of the Middle East.
And eventually the peoples of Europe will pass through the judgment of Yah.
So what you have to know is, rest assured that the judgment of Elohim does not sleep. The judgment of Elohim does not sleep. It is how the prophet, just because he's not just saying names by accident. He starts somewhere and he ends somewhere. And if you begin to look at how Elohim has been moving, it is exactly like that. From the Middle East, he's going because he must end in Europe. He will end in Europe. But first, he will begin to tackle them from the side, tackle them from the side, tackle them from the side. And then you will see, boom, he gets to Europe. So it's not so much that the Medo-Persians have done something. It is because they have mingled with the Horites, mingled with Edom. So unfortunately for them, they are also suffering. Because as for the original Medo-Persians, which were the black people, we have been suffering from ever since. You don't even have to speak about the suppression of the blacks in the Middle East. It's so horrendous that no one even speaks of it. So let me deal with the mingled people a bit who are now living in that area. So this is the ancient map, and all the names the prophet mentioned: Germania, the gods, the Visigoths. And then you go to the Asian steppes, the Ponts, you see the Togarma, you see Gog, Magog. All this area here on the right is where the Iranian Empire is where the Zarephath area is where the mingled people of today are, And then you see there the people of Magog. But we are continuing because, Chris, what does this has to do with anything? I showed you who the people were then, but who are the Medo Persians now? I told you it consists of two people, the Medes, which are known as the Madai, and the Persians, which are known as the Paras. So first deal with the Medes. The Medes are the Kurdish people of today. The people that live in that area today, they are the Kurdish people. And if you look at the map once again, it is exactly where Russia, the Asian steppe, the Caspian Sea, the Caucasus Mountain is. But this is the area where the Kurdish people, who are known as the nomads, that's where they find themselves. So look at what they are going through. The idea of the statelessness
of the Kurds refers to the situation where the Kurdish ethnic group does not have a recognized state of their own. This is why they are spread over several countries in the Middle East: Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria, as well as some other countries around the world.
Now, the background.
The Kurds have been subjugated by neighboring peoples for most of their history. In modern times, Kurds have tried to set up independent states in Iran, Iraq, and Turkey, but their efforts have been crushed every time.
Now watch this. The Kurdish people, 15 million to
20 million Kurds live in a mountainous area straddling the borders of Armenia, Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. About 8 million live in southeastern Turkey.
Now, they told you they live in where? Mountainous area. They are cave people. They are cave dwellers. That's why even when you go to Afghanistan and these Kurdish people, they hide in their caves, you can't get them. You can't, when they hide in their caves, you can't touch them. It's in their system. It's in their system. So we wrote down once again, the Kurds are a
non-Arabic people.
Don't think, oh, the guys from Afghanistan is Arab. No, Islam is their religion. It is not their ethnicity, it is their religion. So the Kurds are non-Arabic people
who speak a language related to Persian.
Most adhere
to the Sunni Muslim faith.
So they are being oppressed, going through many crazy things. And this is how some of them look. I showed you the picture of the guy who looked like a Neanderthal, and this is how some of them look. So you can see they are a mixed people. Some are dark, some have this, some are that. These are suffering people. Suffering people. But they are going through it because every nation will go through the punishment, except for Europe until the last day. So that when their time comes, the bomb. So now we have the other people. We have the Parsi people. That's where the term Persian comes from. It's from the Parsi people. So I wrote down, today the Zoroastrians
are less than 10,000 officially in their motherland, Iran. Most of them are now in Fars and Yazd, named after the king Yezdegerd, and others in India. However, there is a silent bloom without any notice. The Iranians have started to introspect their identity after the rigorous imposition of Shariat on them, especially on their women. The major problem with the Zoroastrians is that they have an identity crisis. They don't have an exclusive country or a province that they can relate to, although they were asked to come back to Iran by the then President Shah Pahlavi in 1971 during the celebration of the 2500th coronation of Cyrus the Great.
You see, they linked themselves all the way back to Cyrus the Great.
It was too late, and the 1979 Islamic Revolution, led by the Ayatollahs, wrecked it.
Even the Ayatollahs themselves, they are not Arabs. Many of them are Kurdish, some are Persians. It's just that Islam is their religion, but they are not Arabs.
Although the Zoroastrians are microscopic, the native Iranians are introspecting on why they are being ruled by Shariat, while they are sure that their identity is not the same as that of the Arabs, which follow Shariat rule. Despite all the atrocities by the clerics via Shariat, even today the symbol which is used widely in Iran, the Farvahar, has Zoroastrian roots.
So this is the other group of people who are the Persians, the real one, being suppressed because they still make part of the ancient kingdom, and they are also going through difficult times. They're also going through difficult time, and this is how they look like: the Parsis, the Persians. So it's so strange. So it's so. Some people call them donkerwit. I don't know if you know the term dark white. So it's like, I can't explain it. I can't explain it. Is this white? Is this pale? Is this gray? I can't explain it.
Looks pale to me.
But they live in an area where there is too much sun. Is this making sense? Because they are not tanned, but they live in India. But they are not tanned. So these are also another group of people, and they are going through difficult times. So I showed you then and now, and then I'm bringing you somewhere. Have you heard the term Aryan race before? The Aryan race. Have you heard that term before? The Aryan race. The Aryan race. A lot of Eurocentrists and racist people, especially those that follow Hitler and his ideology of the Übermensch, they tell you that we seek for the pure Aryan race, and then they do the Heil Hitler. Hitler for himself, he said he was looking for the pure Aryan people. Right? So, but who are the Aryan people? And why are Europeans, especially the supremacists, so obsessed with Aryans? It makes no sense unless it makes sense. So let's look at where it comes from. So Aryans of the Avesta and the Rig Veda. Read for us, please.
The Indo-Iranian group, whose members compose the Zoroastrian scriptures, the Avesta, and the Hindu scriptures, such as the Vedas, called themselves Aryans, or Arya, or Aryan in the Avesta, and Arya/Aryan in the Vedas.
So you see that? So it's the Iranian people and the Indian people who originally called themselves, they are the Aryans. That's what they call themselves. Now the name Aryana,
Vaea, was contracted over the years to Iran, Iran Ve, or Iran Ve in the Middle Persian text, and finally to Iran.
So Aryan people, Iran people is the same thing, right? So the two Indo-Iranian Aryan groups
eventually ceased to be close neighbors. They separated and migrated to present-day India and Iran, becoming Indians and Iranians in the process.
So then I showed you a picture on the right. This is an Aryan Romani girl. They're also known as gypsies. So Kurdish people, gypsies, etc., Romanis, they are people of mixed descent, colored people, some Iranians, some Indians. But as you can see, looking at this girl, they are a mixed people with clear proof of something dark in them. But then I wrote down below in yellow, if the original Aryan people
are a people of the Asian steppes, why do Europeans then have a history of calling themselves either Caucasians or Aryans or Indo-Europeans?
Have you ever sat down to think, why does a European call himself a Caucasian? What does that mean? What is a Caucasian? What are they doing? I'm a Caucasian. And then what do they say? Some call themselves Aryans, especially the supremacists, and others call themselves what? Indo. I'm like, what do you mean? Why do you say you are an Indo-European? What it simply means is I come from the Indo region, but now I'm a Europe. So they are telling you where they are coming from. But then the question is, how? How? It's just that they don't expect you to figure things out because they know you don't have time. Or you smoke ganja and you eat Maggi, and they don't expect you to figure this out. But now let's see what they mean with the Aryan race, why they call themselves Indo-European, why they call themselves the Caucasians. And we have seen the Caucasian area where the Caucasus Mountain is also where the Medo Persians were. And it is all in the Asian steppe. So let's connect the dots. The real Aryan race Hitler was referring to. So I wrote down for you, the so-called white race
is believed to have formed in Central Asia, where the Dravidian albinos congregated to avoid strong sunlight. There, those albinos congregated in Central Asia. As they mated with each other, they simply made more albinos, thus giving birth to the so-called white race.
Mm-hmm.
Whites are the albinos of India's indigenous Dravidians who split from India and went into Central Asia many thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The so-called black and brown Dravidians of India produce the most albinos per family,
compared to all of the world.
And it is from these Dravidians that the so-called white sub-race arose.
So it is a subspecies, because even the doctors will tell you albinoism is a defect and it is a mutation. They themselves will tell you. So it is a subspecies. So when they told you the whole race's premise, or the black man is fifth or is 3/5 human and 2/5 something else, that's why everything Edom, the European, tells you it is the other way around. So when he says run left, make sure you run right. When he says this is good, just understand it is evil. When they flock to something, you must stay away from it. That's how they are. Right? So I wrote down, they are primarily of the OCA2 type.
Albinism, indicated by blonde hair, blue eyes, pale skin, the ability to tan, and normal eyesight. Genetics clearly traces the Dravidians and their albinos out of Africa into India and finally into Europe, hence the term Indo-European.
So there's the source for you. But do you now understand why they call themselves Indo-European? They know, but they don't expect you to take time and consider. What really annoys me is when you sit down with one of them and you ask them, bro, are you from the Netherlands? Yes. Why do you people call yourself? If you just sit down like, hey, but I can understand why our brothers in the Americas are called African Americans. It makes perfect sense, right? But if we can trace African American, meaning you are an American, but you come from Africa, why can't we make the same connection with Indo-European? Because they are exactly telling you there are people that come from this Indus region, but they are now in Europe. That's where the term Indo-European comes from. But when you ask many of them, they'll be like, what? No, it has to do with it has to do with our language, and messed up. But we are continuing because you're like, okay, so we do your name, it can need, and no problem. Let's look at the next one. Just look for you. Just look for you. Look for yourself. So who's the guy on the left and who's the guy on the right? Can you tell me who is who? Who's who? Who is the guy on the left?
Is a Dravidian albino.
And who is the guy on the right?
Is a white European.
But what is his? Do you know who he is? Does anyone know? Can someone type it? Who is the guy on the right? Praise who?
Medio.
Exactly. the guy was now chilling with Meghan Markle. So do you see it? One is a Dravidian albino, and one is a white European. The both of them have what the Bible calls clean leprosy. The both of them have what the Bible calls clean leprosy. The same thing that Esau had. The same thing that, what's the guy's name? The uncle of Jacob, Laban had. They are clean lepers. The same thing that the line of the Canaanites had. They are clean leopards. So, I can't even pronounce it. Oculoctunetus, albinism. So read, the most common type
of albinism is caused by mutation of the P gene. People with OCA2 generally have more pigment and better vision than those with OCA1, but cannot tan like some with OCA1b. A little pigment can develop in freckles or moles. People with OCA2 usually have fair skin, but often not as pale as OCA1, and pale blonde to golden strawberry blonde, or even brown hair, and most commonly blue eyes.
That's it. So even in albinism, you have levels. OC1, OC2, OC3, etc. Theirs is the OCA2. That is what they have. And then on the right, that's this doctor who did all the research. He's showing you the genetic strand. And then he's showing you all the levels of albinism, all the levels of mutations, pygmies and stuff. And then he's showing you how the Indian AAC and the European AAC, they are the most closely connected. They are the most closely connected.
And it also says here, I think on the text, it says here we see that black and brown Indians and Europeans are genetically like two peas in a pod. The two are alone by themselves in the human family. Clearly, it proves that Europeans are indeed Dravidian albinos.
People, and I know some of you are like, this guy's mad, but what if I do you know that's why DNA, some call it the language of God. Because did you know that a chimpanzee and a human being, do you know the difference when it comes to our DNA makeup? Do you know the percentage of difference when it comes to our DNA makeup compared to that of a chimpanzee? Do you know how much percent?
1, right? I thought it was only a few percent.
So the difference between you and let's just say the difference, because they will say, no, you're a monkey, you are closer. No, so I'll take the black guy out of the equation. Do you know the difference between a white European and a chimp when it comes to their DNA makeup? Do you know the percentage of difference? So for 98%, 98%, you and the chimpanzee are the same. What makes us different is just the 2%. It's just the 2%. Can you imagine? It's just, so that means 2% off, and you come out as a chimp. And you come out as a chimp. Kill. So when Hitler then was saying, we are seeking for the real Aryan race, he was not speaking about the Romani girl or the people of Dinga. What he was speaking about was the albinos. That is the real Aryan race. That is why they link themselves. You have to know how these people think. So that is where the concept of the Aryan race comes from. But unless you can make this dot, you will never understand them. Because they know where they come from. And I already showed you this, how the same Caucasus Mountain, where the Edomite blood was spoiled, where the Horite blood was spoiled, was found in the same area where the Dravidians are found. But then, just before you say, hey, Chris, you are really racist, man. Everything I'm showing you, I have not written down anything by myself. So this is coming from the Bible study tools. You know, Black people don't write this. Look what I found when I was looking for Horite. Just look for yourself. When I was looking for Horite, just lo and behold, I can read. Denoted the inhabitants of Mount Seir.
Before its occupation by the Edomites, Seir is accordingly called Horite in Genesis, where a list of his descendants is given, who afterward mixed with the invading Edomites. Esau himself married the daughter of the Horite chieftain Anah. See Genesis, where Hivite must be corrected into Horite. The Horites in their Mount Seir were among the nations defeated by the army of Kedor Leomar in the age of Abraham. The Hebrew Horitic, however, is the Kar of the Egyptian inscriptions, a name given to the whole of southern Palestine and Edom, as well as to the adjacent sea. In accordance with this, we find in the Old Testament also traces of the existence of the Horites in other parts of the country besides Mount Seir. The Septuagint more correctly reads Horite instead of Hivite or Hivite, for the inhabitants of Shechem and Gibeon and Caleb is said to be the son of Hur, the firstborn of Ephrata or Bethlehem. Hor or Horite has sometimes been explained to mean cave dweller. It more probably, however, denotes the white race.
Can you repeat that, please?
Horite has sometimes been explained to mean cave dweller.
It more probably, however,
denotes the white race.
Do you see my name there somewhere? Do you see my name there? Why are these people telling you this? Why are they telling you this? Why are they telling you this? Because that is where that mutation, their people, took place. That's where that mutation took place. So then you begin to see how someone ends up like this. Oh, what am I doing? So that's why you begin to see how someone all of a sudden, what really gonna do? So that's why you will see how someone will end up like this. That's why you see how someone will end up like this. Like this. This is a Neanderthal. And when you go to that area, you will find plenty of them. All right, people mixed with the people of that area. So then you will see how Elohim has begun judging them. Because just be honest, people of Iran, if that is not persecution, I don't know what it is. There are more than 1 million sanctions on one nation. That whole area is messed up. Afghanistan is under a curse. The people of the Quds, they are known as the nomads, no peace. The Parsis of India, they are claiming for Indian citizenship. No peace. No peace. You are in Iran, no peace. Uzbekistan, all the stands are bombed. Desert area. What do? They just behead people and eat camel flesh. It's messed up. So that's why sometimes even we Africans, we shouldn't complain too much, because David said, you have not dealt with us based on the number of our madness. If you were to choose, they either drop you in Afghanistan or they drop you in Kumasi. Where would you want to go? Is that really a choice? They either drop you in Kinshasa or they drop you in they drop you in Iran. Is that a choice? So you see, all these nations are under the punishment of Elohim. So I'm bringing it home because we have to close now. So let's look at some biblical precepts, how Elohim will use them. Just like Elohim used Medo Persia to bring down Babylon in that time, he will do the same trick. He will once again use Medo Persia to bring down modern Babylon. That's why we said you must learn from history to connect the dots, and you must learn from it. So 2 Ezra 15:3. Also the Carmanians,
raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, they shall smite one upon another, in verse 35, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly.
They will drop drones and bombs. They will drop drones and bombs and begin to fight. 43, and they shall go steadfastly
unto Babylon.
That is the intent. Their intent is, we must go. So to them, it's like, we must go steadfastly. So no matter what you do, what you say, that's the thing. When you suppress people to such a level, they have nothing to lose. They're like, what? We already have 1 million sanctions. We don't need you. We don't need you. So they must go steadfastly. That is all of their intention. And we are speaking about contemporary Babylon. It's not just US. It's also their allies. And how will they go to Babylon? They will go to Israel, provoke, go through this, provoke, go through this, provoke. And then all of a sudden, oh, you've touched me. Now I must build my bomb. Because they are now holding peace, because this Ayatollah guy building a nuclear bomb is haram. However, if you read I think I'll deal with this one day. But if you read their declaration, they say they have the right to self-defense by all means. So if you push them enough, as Ayatollah declares it, then they can build the final pieces. Because the intention is they must go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her very afraid. So he says they shall come to her and besiege her.
And the star and all wrath shall they pour out upon her. Then shall the dust and smoke go up unto the heaven, and all they that be about her shall bewail her.
So we are continuing. Because this place, it will be bombed. This whole, what do they call it? The Temple Mount, this thing erected, this Jerusalem, it will suffer, unfortunately. So lessons drawn from the Medo-Persian kingdom, because we are concluding. Jeremiah 51:11, he says, sharpen
the arrows and take up the shields. Yah has stirred up the spirit of the kings of the Medes.
They are stirred up. These people, it's as if they can rest. They will just come out and say, Zionism must be destroyed. And they won't rest. So because his purpose concerning Babylon
is to destroy it, for that is the vengeance of Yah, the vengeance for his temple.
Isaiah 13:1, the burden
of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. 13 verse 19, And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans, excellency, shall be as when Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. This is Isaiah 13:19. Ezra 1:1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of Yah by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, Yah stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing, saying, Thus said Cyrus, king of Persia, Yah, Elohim of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he had charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people?
I know some of these verses you won't get them, but what I'm basically trying to show you that there are two lessons to be learned here. First of all is just like it was before, it will be again. How Elohim will use the Medes to begin to fight against Babylon. And if you are a astute person, you will be like, but Chris, it makes no sense. First you speak about the Medes, then you link them to, you tell us who they were, then you link it to how they were mixed with Edom, and then you link it to they will once again fight against Babylon. I know, but that's the thing. That's why that's why I told you ancient Babylon, mystery Babylon is not the same. Mystery Babylon, Gog and Magog, that whole concept, you have to understand how Edom moves. Otherwise, you will look at one nation and you won't understand that it is not one nation. Some of them are half brothers. There is one fraction where Edom is mingled with Arab. There is one fraction where Edom is mingled with the Medes. There is one fraction where Edom is mingled with the blacks. It's mingled. And unless you understand the snake, you won't get it. And Elohim will use certain fractions at certain moments in time to destabilize the world powers. But what you must understand and take away from today is, whilst Elohim is using the Medes, as he did before to destroy the Babylonians, at the same time, he will also use the Medes to offer some reprieve to the people of Yah. Because whilst Babylon is being occupied, we as a people can then take the time to be built. That's what you must understand out of all of these teachings. Whilst he's destroying them, exactly as the brother showed, I think last week, how Elohim used world war to end slavery. That's how it works. So all of these wars, every war is a chess move from Elohim to topple these powers, to topple these nations. And whilst he's toppling the nations, he's giving his people the time to be restored for a season. And then he goes on, and he goes on, and he goes on. So, if there are no questions, then is there a question? Then read the conclusion, that we will finish on time today.
We have looked at the rise and fall of the Medo-Persian Empire. We have seen how Elohim has used them to overthrow the first major kingdom for the sake of the children of Israel, and how he, in the time of the Medo-Persians, gave the Israelites some reprieve. We have also seen how eventually Elohim found fault with them due to their pagan ways, and especially due to the Horite connection, which eventually brought them down by the hands of Alexander the Edomite. We furthermore made the connection to our present day and established the link with our modern day captivity. Just like it was in the days of old, Elohim will once again use the Medo-Edomites to fight against each other, and in the same time will he begin to establish and rebuild Zion, which is his people in the progress. In all things, we should keep our faith in Yah, for all nations are puppets in his hand.
Exactly. So let your heart be at peace. Let your heart be at peace, because all things will work out for good. Elohim will use these nations to fight against each other as he did before. And in the same time, if you look at how Babylon transitioned from Babylon to Persia, the kingdom was toppled, but Daniel was at the top in Babylon and he was at the top in Persia. The people of Elohim were still able to build the temple in that time while the nations were fighting. If you look at it today, it is because of the meddling now of Russia and stuff. Why do you think there is so much revolt and uprising in the French colonies in Africa now? The French president made a statement and said it is because of the meddling of the Russians that there is this revolt in the African colonies. That is how Elohim is moving. Because we have to sooner or later be detached from Babylon, because if we are attached to Babylon and he destroys it, where will we get our stuff? You see? So everything is in his perfect hands and he's moving every chess piece one by one by one. All we have to make sure is try to be connected. Try to be connected. Take your time. Study the ways of Elohim. Have a relationship where when all the churches will be shut down, and they will be shut down, you will have church in your home. You will sit down on your couch and you are having service. Because if you cannot do that and you are dependent on stuff, it will be a long journey. So people, let's learn the lesson from the Medo-Persian Empire. And may Elohim keep us all standing. May he keep us wise. And we'll see you the next time around. Shalom. Shalom. Shalom.